Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Umineko. For those of you who don't know what that is, I'm just gonna drop a link for you so you can get caught up because wow is this series long. And none of this is going to make any sense to you if you are just hopping on board, so to speak. We'll talk about the witch stuff at some point, but not right now. Yeah, so as always, big content warning for these games. Child abuse, character deaths, detailed descriptions of gore and body horror, misogyny, which is very present and very heavy in this particular arc. That's not gonna go away anytime soon. And there's some awkward scaviness because our protagonist is a teenage boy, but you know, that's how it be sometimes. No, we're actually gonna talk about the witch stuff, and I think that's gonna become relevant in this very episode, so we're gonna dive right in. The button didn't do anything. We're good, we're fine. Ooh, it's hard to tell where we left off now. I hope that the sound is okay. It's pretty loud on my end, but had to get new headphones because the old one broke, so everything's a little weird. So if anything's up with the sound, please let me know and I can adjust it. Very quick recap on what happened last time. We got some background on for Ava, who had a very rough life. Then we had a long discussion with Ronove and Beatrice about reasoning, arguments, debating, and you know, kind of what constitutes a good attack and a good bit of reasoning and what doesn't, and how they can like use all that against each other, and how the red truth that Beatrice has been using can also be used against her. And yeah, it was one of those sort of like in the middle episodes, you know, ramping up to something. And the bit that it was all ramping up to, we're about to see that. Practically speaking, the early part of the game ended with her being a sore loser. Even so, I couldn't relax my guard at all. That's true, actually. I should mention that there were discussions of Kinzo having a mistress on the island. That his actual wife spent a good chunk of her life until her death looking for. And that the mistress might be the reason that the rumors of the witch exist to keep anyone from finding this mistress. It's, yeah. It's sad. Okay. That tension didn't fade one bit, until I was greeted by the sound of Ronove's applause. There he is, my boy. Spectacular, Butler-sama. Perhaps you have started this game with an advantageous development. Who knows? I still don't know whether I've taken a piece by my move, or whether she guided me into taking it. After all, knowing you probably know I'm being led into a trap, and that clapping is just you mocking me openly, right? How could you think that? I am innocently celebrating your ability, which has enabled you to take one shot at Milady, even though it is only the first round. In any event, Milady is a person who is quick to become arrogant. I believe that a little encouragement such as this can be good medicine every once in a while. This butler of yours sure is a vicious tongue. He does, doesn't he? Sometimes he ticks me off as well. My, how incredibly rude of me. Well then, milady, Butler-sama, How would you like some more black tea? The game has still barely begun. Please allow me to prepare all the tea and snacks needed to adorn this game. I ask that you continue your game without any reservations. I will. Let's move forward. Now is when it really starts. Very well. Let us advance the clock. Ronove, black tea, please. Certainly. How about a cookie? I don't need one. Give it to Beelzebub to keep her happy. Remain silent for now. While listening to the sound of the demon butler pouring tea, the witch closed her eyes slightly and fell silent. I also want cookies. For some time she was deeply lost in thought, but eventually a roguish glint came into her eyes. Very well. Why don't I inform you now as to why I refused to speak in red during that first move? What? Bring it on. Show me what you've got. Yes, that piece really was big enough that I'd hate to lose it. It may be hasty, but allow me to make my move. I won't use the red, but from here on, Rosa will explain on my behalf. Listen. Lulu, this one's for you specifically. You'll know what I mean soon. Of course, I think the same way. Rosa does too, right? Rosa? Huh? Sorry. Me too. I think that too. What's wrong, Rosa-san? You've been really quiet for a while now. Are you feeling sick? From the beginning, Rosa had never been one to cut in on the siblings' fights. But even so, she seemed unmotivated, and had said almost nothing during this night's conference. The whole time she had hung her head, and appeared to be thinking of something else. You've been in a daze for quite a while now. Do you think you can protect the inheritance like that? You're also the mother of your child, so get a stronger hold of yourself. I'm sorry. Did you wake up really early in the morning? If you feel sick, you shouldn't overdo it. The beds in our guest rooms have been prepared. How about taking a rest? I will guide you. No, I'm fine. Thank you. What is it? Is there something you're worrying about? No, not really. Is that so? It feels like your mind has been elsewhere this whole time. I wonder if that has anything to do with what we've been talking about. At those words, everyone stared at Rosa together. As if in response, Rosa's shoulders quivered. Apparently, Kiria's guess hadn't been wrong. Rosa couldn't deny it either. No, She swallowed whatever it was that she had been trying to say and went silent again. Of course, the other siblings also began to realize that something about her appearance was different from usual. What is it? You've been weird for a while. Did you think of something? We all just swore to remain united, didn't we? Don't hold back, worrying by yourself. We said we'd talk. Rosa, tell us. The men pressed her one after the other, and Rosa confessed, resignedly and nervously. The atmosphere made it seem as though she was confessing to some modest prank, which had inadvertently brought about a serious situation. No, this mistress of grandfather's, this Beatrice. I was wondering if she's still alive. Huh? Isn't it obvious that she's alive? After all, she was able to send that letter to us. Whether she's in good health or not is a different story, though. The woman in that portrait must be getting up there in age by now. I'd say she's healthy. People who are crafty when it comes to money stay healthy no matter how old they get. Her evil plan might even be the best rejuvenating agent. She shouldn't be alive. Huh? What did you just say? Beatrice is dead. I killed her. What did you say? What do you mean, Rosa? But it wasn't really me who killed her. Though I did bring her to a place like that. No, I did kill her after all. I tried to make myself believe it was a dream. But it wasn't really a dream, was it? Which makes this a letter from Beatrice's ghost. Ugh. It was so sudden that everyone was lost for words. Rosa kept on talking, unable to stop, holding her head as her hair flew all about. Calm yourself. Rosa-san. I have absolutely no clue what's going on. Already dead? What do you mean? I think it means two things. First, its literal meaning. And second, it backs up our earlier guess. Which means Rosa has met with Beatrice, right? I've never heard Rosa mention anything like this. Rosa? When was it? When could you possibly have met Beatrice? Long ago. Long ago. We just moved over to the island and I was still young. It wasn't my fault. It's not like I killed her. Calm down. Nobody's blaming you for anything, right? Alright, first, drink some water. Okay. Natsui-san, the pitcher, please. Yes. Here you go, Rosa-san. Please, calm yourself. Until Rosa was able to calm her ragged breathing, no one was able to speak a word. Yeah, she said, I killed her. But also, not really. And we're about to find out what that means. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but no spoilers from me, as always. Beatrice, I've been calling to you for some time now. Did you not hear me? Were you? My apologies. I was lost in thought. Forgive me. The weather is pleasant. Yes, I can understand how the weather has stolen your heart. Will you have your black tea here? Who am I? I will bring you some tea now. Wait here for a while. Forget about the tea. Talk with me. Very well. Kinzo had used the excuse of getting black tea to try and interrupt the conversation for the time being, but his attempt had been very transparent. I sat in a garden chair and beckoned Kinzo to do the same. Kinzo sat down heavily, exaggerating his age. For a while we sat and appreciated the silence. Who am I? Until today, no one has answered this question. For some reason, everyone averts their gaze and evades me. known you for a long time. I think of you as my best friend, even as a father. That is why I want so much for you to tell me. You should know who I am. Why are you worried about something like that? You are Beatrice, the master of this mansion. Is that not so? What more could you want to know? I do not know. What's this? Don't you even understand what it is you want to know? How mysterious. In one's youth, there are times one wants to play in the maze of thought that has no exit. Perhaps that's what your worries are. Kinzo, you dig. Kinzo laughed as though it was a trivial matter. However, I couldn't help but feel that this behavior was another attempt to force me to stop any further questioning. So you won't tell me, after all? There's nothing to tell. You are Beatrice. Isn't that more than enough? No, that's not it. What I wish to know is not my name. I want to know who I am. Who am I? What am I? How long have I been here, and how long will I have to continue my days here? I really should bring some black tea. Don't you think it a waste of all this fine weather? What's this all about? It looks like it's probably the story of your past, right? Something like that. To think I would go this far back. Looks like you had some deep worries even then, wondering who you were. That is to be expected. At the time, I was unable to understand who I was, or why I was alive. Well, in puberty, everyone's captured by those philosophical worries at least once, wondering what meaning there is in their life. Doesn't this just prove you had a charming period like that at one point? I'd been in that mansion since the time of my birth, and I lived only inside the mansion. Of course, I went out into the garden, but the area around the mansion was surrounded by a very tall fence. I was unable to leave through it, and I was told severely that I mustn't leave. I could walk freely throughout the mansion and the garden, but outside of that, not once was my desire to take just one step outside of my own accord granted. What do you mean by that? Are you trying to say that, as far back as you can remember, you were always a bird in a cage? That's what I thought at the time. After all, as soon as I became aware, I was living like that. I didn't even think to question it. Who in the world are you? And that's it. That's what I also hope to know. Babe, we will talk about this later. Oh my god. Okay. Well, I'm sorry that happened. Also, yes, you did have a big brain moment, Lulu. I think, maybe. I won't confirm nor deny the details. I'm sure you'll say something like, I wasn't a human, I was a witch, right? No, that's not true. That isn't true yet. Or should I say that that was once the case? I was constructed by Kinzo, a human built by a human. No, perhaps I should call it a cage made of flesh. What the hell? This is getting weird. You probably won't believe it anyway, but listen first. I was a mighty witch who had lived for 1,000 years. But at one point, I was summoned by Kinzo, and by that hidden art, I was bound as his prisoner for eternity. Never heard that before. From what we hear in the Ushirimiya family, you were summoned by grandfather, made something like a devil's contract with him and gave him the gold. Indeed, that is correct. Then I was supposed to vanish until the contract was complete. But, well, popular women have it rough. By some turn of events, Kinzo fell in love with me. Grandfather's nearsightedness must have gotten pretty bad. With astigmatism too. To fall in love with you of all things. Well, to me, there could be nothing more bothersome. However, the power of humans is a frightening thing. He displayed that fearsome power and rooted me to this place. He said I wouldn't be freed until I nodded my head in agreement. Such an overbearing man. Isn't that awesome? Everyone knew Grandfather was obsessed with the occult, but who would have guessed he had the power to root down the great witch Beatrice? Ridiculous. Who believes such a weird story? As I thought, you don't believe. All I believe is the fact that you live in this hidden mansion in the middle of the forest. You are the 19th person in the Rokujima, right? Indeed. Just as you imagine, this is deep within the forest of Rokujima. A hidden mansion not to be found from the outside world. Its name is Kuwadorian, and that means 9 birds' retreat. Come to think of it, I heard the guest house's real name was Toraya, Visitor's Retreat. That was a different person talking. I see, the naming sense is similar. I thought it was Beatrice. So, you were Grandfather's mistress who lived here in secret. Isn't that right? Mistress isn't the right way to say it. You should probably call it Kinzo's unrequited love. I spoke of it just now, correct? He fell in love with me of his own accord. He then courted me, but I rejected him. Then, I was shut up in this hidden mansion. No, that's not quite right. It would be more correct to say that I was shut up in this body. I've got no idea what you said at the end there. You will just make fun of it and refuse to listen, right? After all, you say you don't believe in witches or magic. If you have no ears to hear what I tell you, saying it would be the pinnacle of foolishness. Time for some tea. I'll decide whether I believe or not. After all, if I don't ask, the story won't continue. Tell me, let's hear this story from your past. Very well. I refused Kinzo when he courted me, but he was not a man to lose heart at something like that. He wanted to make me nod my head in agreement, no matter what. He shut me up in this mansion and spent an eternity trying to win my heart. Talk about overbearing. Guess no one likes obstinate men, huh? Damn right. Regardless of whether I responded to his courting or not, having a man so desperate for me was, well, as a woman it wasn't so unpleasant. However, I never accepted his proposal. I tried to find some way to break through his guard, but that barrier was firm and I couldn't crack it. And then, after trying to resist in various ways, I eventually reached the conclusion that to escape from Kinzo's barrier, I would have to throw away this body of flesh. The physical body is a vessel with many restrictions for a magic user. Throw away your body of flesh? What does that mean? Something like an out-of-body experience? Well, if you want to think of it that way. However, I'm no spirit. Even though I am a witch, in the beginning, I was born with a human's body of flesh. So for me, throwing away that physical body, while it didn't mean the same thing as death, it did require a similar level of resolve. So in other words, you decided that you couldn't be released except by suicide, is that it? It wasn't suicide. It was nothing more than throwing away my body of flesh. Of course, becoming nothing more than a soul is a precarious situation. When the soul leaves its body of flesh, it is constantly exposed to the strong winds of the sun. It was not easy for me to maintain myself and avoid being scattered by them. It was a final measure that I wanted to avoid if I could. However, there was no other way to break through Kinzo's barrier. Anyway, I am an unfettered person. I couldn't stand being kept in a cage until Kinzo's life was over. I couldn't see the stuff Beato kept going on about throwing away her body of flesh as anything more than suicide. Grandfather persistently courted her, and to escape from that, she chose her own death? So you're saying you committed suicide? What are you talking about? Isn't that you sitting carefree there in the garden chair? That's right. That is the new cage I was given by Kinzo. Cage? You mean this mansion? No. I mean my body, relaxing in the garden chair over there. Even though I was so desperate to escape that I became naught but a soul, Kinzo still had no intention of letting me go. Oh, he was a fearsome person. Normally, when the object of one's unrequited love shows that she is willing to die, it should be enough to bring that person to their senses, even if their love has lasted 100 years. Perhaps that's why even he managed to become a sorcerer of sorts. Don't try to confuse me with that incomprehensible witch girl talk. What exactly are you trying to say? That Kinzo didn't let me escape even after I became a soul. Human emotions are terrifying. To think he would be able to exhibit such power. Tying down a dead soul is not something that can be accomplished easily, not even for a magician who specializes in such matters. Because I knew this, Kinzo's fearful magic power shocked me for the first time. She should have killed him. Yeah, you're not wrong. Then, Kinzo seized my soul and brought me back. However, a cage to hold a seized soul cannot be made from iron or lead. Only one thing remained. What? You aren't gonna say it was a magical cage or something, are you? Wrong. It's that body of flesh over there, just like yours or mine. Only a cage made of flesh and blood can tie a soul down to this world. Kinzo shut my soul up in a cage of flesh built to be exactly like me. So to sum up, it's like this. Grandfather obstinately courted you, you started to hate it, and you committed suicide. But you weren't clever enough to finish the job? Damn, you really took a roundabout way to say something like that. No, that's wrong. Hey Zappa, yeah, there's gonna be spoilers, because oh boy, we are like in episode 3 of this. Out of 8, they're all very long. It's like, we're 3 books in, basically. But, yeah, good night. Thank you for dropping by, I hope you have a good one. And, I hope all the fires are out. The metaphorical ones. Sleep well. No, that's wrong. My soul was shut up in the seed of a homunculus. And I was born out of a test tube. Huh? That's crazy. That isn't even possible, right? Keep in mind this is in the 80s. Kinzo accomplished even the miracle of creating life. And simply to shut my soul up in that cage. And he would show such magical power simply because of his own love. A thoroughly terrifying person. It's already gotten pretty ridiculous. Say whatever you want. I won't believe anything. Just do what you like. What's with this unpleasant attitude? In the beginning, I showed a little interest, thinking that there might be some huge hint hidden here. but the more I ask, the weirder this story starts to get. I get the feeling that even though this is supposed to be a game about denying witches, I'm suddenly being forced to just swallow the story about witches. Sorry, but I don't feel like listening to this anymore. Just keep rambling on to yourself as much as you want. I'll be over here picking at my earwax or something. Is this a little rude? When I started acting cold, Beato seemed unusually discouraged. Of course, her expression was still shameless, but in that really easy to understand expression of hers, I had the feeling I was able to catch a glimpse of loneliness at my failure to find the story of her past interesting. For some reason, that subtle reaction made her seem pitiful. So even though I kept my careless attitude, I decided to cover for her slightly. Damn it, even though she's an irritating witch, I was still weak against her because her chromosomes are XX. Sure. It's not how chromosomes work, buddy. Well, I've got absolutely no desire to believe you, but he doesn't know yet, Lulu, it's fine. He'll understand one day, I'm sure. It's the 80s. I've got absolutely no desire to believe you, but keep going. Let's have a bit of a story instead of a tea snack. So you treat the story of my past like little more than a snack. Do you expect me to just casually tell you when you insult me like that? After I made fun of her, Beato reacted a little sensitively. Dude. It looked like even though making fun of people was her specialty, she was horrible at being made fun of by others. To be fair, she did repeatedly murder his whole family. So he's allowed a little rudeness here, I feel like. I feel like he's entitled. Just then, my black teacup suddenly made a sound, surprising me. Milady's soul was seized and breathed into a cage of new life. In other words, Milady received life as a human once more. Before I realized it, the demon butler had taken my cup and was adding more black tea to it. Ronove, enough of that. This person just said it was too ridiculous to be worth listening to. Well, he's too ridiculous to be worth talking to. I'm baking some new cookies right now. Until they're ready, I thought you might find the story of Milady's past to be a perfect substitute for a snack. Didn't I say that's enough talking about me? Such unpleasant people, a lot of you. I'm leaving. Ronove, serve our food and then go. No pointless chit-chat with Battler. Certainly. I will make an effort. Beato's short temper, peculiar to women, which I didn't really understand, took hold of her, and she turned her body into gold butterflies, scattered and disappeared. After that, only Ronove and the scent of black tea were left. Yeah, I feel kind of bad, like I pissed her off or something. As long as you're aware of it yourself, I need say nothing more. Wait a sec. Weren't you the one who struck the finishing blow? My, what could you mean by that? How would you like some sugar and milk? Just milk will be fine. And some tea snacks would be nice too. Well, it will be a bit longer before the cookies are ready. Didn't you say we've already got something to use in place of a snack? Certainly. If you will listen quietly, I will continue the story. She said something about a homunculus. I know a bit about that. It's that thing, right? A manufactured human created with alchemy or something? Yes. Milady's soul was shut up in a homunculus and she was revived into this world, receiving life again as a baby. However, because she was a baby, any professions of love on Kinzo's part would have been quite useless. You were saying that grandfather shut that baby up in this hidden mansion until it grew to reach the same age she'd been? Correct. That is what I'm saying. However, while her soul was the same, a human spirit is strongly influenced by its container. Milady lost all her memories of the past and grew up as a very normal human girl. And you're saying that's the Beato sitting in the garden chair? Yes, that is correct. It grew to be completely identical. However, it did not possess her power as a witch. Milady was completely human. Beato, who was sitting in the garden chair, looking up at the sky, voiced that same question again. She asked who she was. The meaning of those words was finally starting to click. She couldn't understand why she was living here, all locked up. Grandfather had seized Beatrice's soul, shut it up in a body of flesh, and then shut that up in a hidden mansion. However, since she had lived here since the time of her birth, she couldn't even understand who she was, or why she lived shut up in there. Wait. Who would take such a stupid story seriously? Why don't I change my interpretation? In other words, couldn't it be something like this? Grandfather met Beatrice. He then fell in love with her and courted her, but she didn't accept him. Then he flew into a rage and shut her up inside this hidden mansion. Beatrice tried to escape, but no matter what she did, she couldn't succeed. So she finally chose her own death. And then, no. Maybe there was a girl who looked just like Beatrice. No, a baby. Grandfather raised this child with care. But maybe he didn't view this child as his daughter. The soul was once again shut up in a cage of flesh. Those words probably meant that he didn't view this kid as her child, but as her reincarnation. Maybe that's what it meant. If you interpret it that way, even a story this weird might make a little sense. No. This might be some bullshit Beato cooked up to confuse me. As if I could accept any of this. In the first place, Kurodorian, was it? There's no proof whatsoever that a hidden mansion actually existed. Couldn't this be something she just fabricated on the spot? A hidden mansion called Kurodorian does exist in the forest of Rokkanjima. That is the place we were just talking about. Huh? Red? Ronove used the red to say that Kurodorian actually existed. Did that mean the same thing as the red Beato used? I may not look it, but I am a demon. Please keep this a secret from a lady, yes? Sure. Beato, who knew I would try to trip her up, had grown extremely cautious when using red. To think that Ronove could also use the red. However, it was the red of a crafty man. I didn't know how far I could accept it, but anyway, I might be able to get some kind of hint out of it. So that Beato relaxing in the garden of Kurodorian and that conversation she had with grandfather were the truth? Yes, it is the truth. In the past, the pair actually had a conversation like that in this place. Thanks a lot. I'll ask for some more, Red. You said she was born from a homunculus. But does that kind of unscientific magical thing actually exist? I am unable to answer that question. After all, doing so would cause a stalemate. Stalemate? What does that mean? It's a chess term referring to a state in which, similar to a perpetual check, any further progress in a game becomes impossible. This would be the opposite of an endless repetition of moves, because all moves would disappear and it would bring about a kind of deadlock. In chess, this would lead to a draw, just as a perpetual check would. However, there can be no draws in the game between you and Milady. Therefore, I am unable to answer a question that would bring about a stalemate. You obviously want to confuse me by saying incomprehensible stuff, but simply put, you're trying to dodge the question because you can't use the red to say that something magical like a homunculus exists, right? If I were to say in red that a witch exists, what would you do, Butler-sama? Whether or not I believe that is what our whole fight's about, right? If I was told that point blank, it'd be game over. If I said a witch exists in red, you would have no room for argument. However, since the reason would never have been made clear to you, Butler-sama, you probably wouldn't accept it. However, after being told that in red, you would have no room for argument and would not have been shown any proof. In this situation, even though you wouldn't be able to admit defeat, you would have no way to make a counter-argument and it would become a deadlock. Even though checkmate would not have been reached, there would be no existing moves left. Since you would not be able to play your next hand, it would never become Milady's turn, and the game would stop there for all eternity. As a result, Milady would be unable to force you to submit. That would be a deadlock situation. In order to avoid that, I am unable to answer questions of this nature in red. So to say it quickly, or saying point-blank questions are prohibited? Well, that's true, I guess. If I were told a witch exists, I'd have to give up from the start. I'm pleased that you understand. I believe we might be able to work together if you ask your questions in a different form. Can you help me with that line Beatrice dodged when I told her to repeat it? About the number of people on this island. If Milady held back on repeating it, then I, of course, cannot respond. As Milady's furniture, I am unable to be too forward. Ronove made an exaggerated gesture, trying to act like a loyal retainer. This guy's so shameless. Just when I thought you might actually be useful. I'll give up on that and search for a different question. That's right. I was forgetting to check something important. This is a story about Beato's memories, right? When did it happen? It couldn't be happening right now, right? Correct. This is the world of 1967. The world of 19 years previous. Let me just take a quick sip of tea. Let's try rearranging this story again. Hell yeah, I love tea. I wonder if it couldn't be something like this. It's not black tea, no. Wait, maybe it is. I'd have to check. But there's like ginger and lemon in it, it's pretty good. Grandfather fell in unrequited love with a person called Beatrice. Then, he confined her in this hidden mansion and continued to court her. But she was stubborn and didn't give in. Eventually, she grew pessimistic about being able to escape from here, and probably committed suicide. And then, her soul was put in a homunculus and... No, if I accept that, it's the same as accepting the witch. I can interpret that part like this. She probably had a posthumous daughter. Grandfather must have believed that her soul had been placed in a new physical body, and might have thought that the child was the reincarnation of Beatrice. That means at least 19 years ago, Beato existed on this island as the 19th person. I'm starting to get confused. Either way, we can't do more than speculate. The only thing we can say for sure in red is that in 1967, in a hidden mansion on Rokkenjima, Beatrice existed as a human. That's all. That is correct. In 1967, in a hidden mansion on Rokkenjima, Beatrice-sama existed as a human. Oh, thank you. That really helps. Congratulations. With this, you have made clear the existence of the piece known as the 19th person. A 19th human for you to blame, just as you longed for. You're right, it is. A sacrificial sheep upon which you can shift the blame of any crime. Hold on, let me just double check something. I don't have it in there, okay. I can't show that particular emote off. We would need more subs. Unlike a lot more. Oh well. But you're totally right, babe. Actually, that reminds me, I still need to cash in your save from earlier. Seems like a game, please. Okay. A sacrificial sheep upon which you can shift the blame of any crime. How amusing that it happens to be Milady. Ronove laughed indiscreetly. Somehow, I didn't like how he put that, so I didn't feel like laughing along with him. That's right. There's that thing Aunt Rosa said. Beatrice is dead. I killed her. What did that mean? As for that, it may be faster to see the actual circumstances rather than listen to me tell you. Wow. Thank you, Lulu, for the sub. Holy shit. I appreciate it. Yeah, you caught me by surprise, but literally I mean, you know me, right? I will never not be surprised. Thank you so much. It shows it, and I actually noticed it this time, and damn. But, thank you. Let us advance the clock a little more. I'm just gonna keep going. Ronove pulled a stylish pocket watch from his pocket and touched the watch stem. As soon as he did, I saw gold butterflies gather behind his back and take the form of a person. Was it Beata? I quickly realized that it was someone else. It was her. That oldest sister of the 7 stakes, who loved tormenting me more than her 3 meals a day. Do demons eat? I was thinking about that before I saw that next line, damn. If I don't consider myself lucky to see that sexy ass, I won't be able to keep up with their torture game. The fuck? Ronove-sama. So, you're still here. This is an urgent call from Beatrice-sama. I forgot what her voice is. Anyway. My. What kind of urgent business could it be? It seems my chat with Butler-sama has run a tad long. Well then, Butler-sama, if you'll excuse me. Please continue to enjoy your game with Milady. Yeah. I'll enjoy it as best as I can. Because my conversations go a lot more smoothly when they're with you as opposed to her. And you're more gracious with the red too. Come talk again anytime you like. Butler-sama, despite how I look, I am Milady's furniture. I can do nothing that Milady does not desire. What I said and read was something that normally should have come from Milady's mouth. I did nothing more than announce the red truth in Milady's place as she sulked. So she really was sulking then? Seeing me and Ronove incomprehensibly hitting it off, that steak Nechan cocked her head curiously. Ronove-sama, we are keeping Beatrice-sama waiting. Let us hurry. Yes, I shall go immediately. Well, butler-sama, I will see you later. It appears that we have finally started getting along. As I thought, I have the feeling we'll manage to become good friends. Sure, if you mean partners at gossiping behind Beato's back. Ronove-sama. Yes, yes. If you will excuse me. Maybe she didn't like seeing him act so friendly with me, or maybe she really had been told to hurry. When the steak Nechan let out a thunderous cry, Ronove laughed frivolously and disappeared, as if running away. Why am I, the oldest sister of the 7 stakes of purgatory, being summoned for menial tasks like this? Even though Beato-sama could have told one of the younger sisters, who look like they've got nothing better to do. Sheesh. Why so grumpy, Nechan? If you're hungry, eat a cookie or something. Why don't I give you the last one? How thoughtful. Then shall I take one? I casually pushed the snack plate with the last remaining cookie over to her. Thank you. Oh snap, that startled me. Eat a Snickers. As though coming as a period at the end of the sentence, a sharp sound pierced the table. The nails on 3 of her fingers extended, grew sharp, and pierced the space between my fingers on the hand that was pushing the plate, missing them by a hair's breadth. It had happened in an instant, so for a while I didn't even realize that her fingernails had grown. She just really wanted that cookie. The tips of those sharp nails were like blades with a red manicure. The spaces between the bases of my fingers hurt sharply. Those razor-like blades had been plunged into the table a hair's breadth away from the back of my hand and my fingers. Because of those 3 blades, I was unable to even let my careless right hand tremble, and by now, all I could do was let a bead of cold sweat drip down. Babe, don't judge me for my roof trees. It's temporary. I need the wood. Whoa. Nechan, isn't it about time you cut your nails? It's Lucifer. That is my glorious name. The honored furniture who serves Beatrice-sama, and the oldest sister of the 7 stakes of purgatory. I'm not like my disgraceful younger sisters. If you don't show proper respect, you will regret it. Oh my god, babe. Why would I regret it exactly? Can't really think of a reason. Stupid kid. Do you really want to play with me that much? Was it that unforgettable? I'll trust my stake deep, deep into you and let you enjoy being gouged to the fullest, okay? Damn it. Someday I'll have you down on the floor and say the same thing. Yike. Oh really? Wow, I can't wait. I mean, that's fair, Paddler. She is murdering you repeatedly. I guess. Rosa eventually regained her calm. The men wanted to hurry her into talking faster, but Kiria intervened. If something like that really had happened, then it would have been a terrible experience that Rosa wouldn't want to remember. After taking several deep breaths with her hand over her chest, it seemed that she had more or less resolved herself to talk. old was I then? I wonder. Middle school, probably, though I don't remember well. Anyway, I think I was about that age. Which means maybe about 20 years ago? Back then, my grades weren't very good, and Mother was always angry at me. I tried to do my best in my own way, but I couldn't match up to Mother's expectations at all. Mother was always very strict with Rosa. I sympathized with her at that time. You say that even though you're always talking behind her back. Would you give it a rest, Ava? And then, where did you meet Beatrice, Rosa-san? Hideyoshi-san, you mustn't rush her now. It's okay, Rosa-san. Tell us at your own pace. Thank you. It was a day I'd been harshly scolded by Mother. Even though my tutor had promised to keep it a secret, apparently they told Mother all about how I had complained. Mother scolded me brutally, saying my name was a disgrace to the Ushinomiya family. Of course, I was doing the best I could, but I had none of Kraus-Nisan's dignity. I couldn't get excellent grades like Eva-Nisan, and I had no leadership abilities like Rudolf-Nisan. I never stood out, didn't particularly excel at anything, and I found myself asking why I'd even been born into the Ushinomiya family. I began to question more and more why I'd even been born at all. This is what happened on the day I experienced my mind going blank for the first time. For the first time in my life, I realized that in addition to facing or surrendering to my problems, I had the third choice of running away. Though I say run away, there was no way I could have left Rokkenjima and gone somewhere else. But anyway, I wanted to run away from the mansion and my own self at the time. In a way, it was like a kid running away from home, or maybe a passive sort of suicide. I need to update my content warnings. Sorry about that. I wanted to disappear. Or maybe it was that childlike form of resistance where I tried to make my parents worry by disappearing. I childishly thought that if I went into the center of the forest and escaped from the Ushinomiya house, and maybe became lost, then I'd make them worry and teach them a lesson. And then, you went into the forest that you were told never to enter? Yes. After reaching the beach, I followed alongside the ocean. I didn't have any particular reason. But I felt that if I went around to the opposite side of the island, there might be a place there that no one knew about, which might become a hidden house just for me. If you go around by the beach, that'd be impossible. It becomes a cliff part way, right? There's no way you could pass that way. Of course. So I kept going wherever I could, which kept taking me deeper and deeper inland. It's a horrible forest without any paths, but that was comforting to me then. If I could make it through such a dangerous forest, then I'd be that much further away from the Ushinomiya family. That's shameful. If you were scolded because of your grades, all you had to do was work harder. You mustn't say that. Doesn't Rose have a talent as a designer instead? Literally speaking, he was covering for Rosa, but everyone knew that Rosa's company hadn't been profitable. Quit it. This is no time for sarcasm. So, you managed to end up there by coincidence? At Beatrice's hidden mansion? Rosa nodded weakly. About how far did you walk in? Could you show it to us on a map? Natsui-san, do you have a map of this island? No, there isn't one here now. It wouldn't help. I was just walking randomly. Even if you gave me a map, I wouldn't know. And 20 years have passed since then. I probably couldn't reach it again, even if I went into the forest. Several people let out dejected sighs. It was vividly clear that in their haste, they thought some hint related to the witch's epitaph, or maybe even the gold itself might be resting there. On Rokajima, only the land around the mansion is ready to be developed on. The rest is completely uncultivated, and it'd probably take a lot of work to survey the entire island. But just knowing that it actually exists is helpful. It would take some money, but if we enlisted an aerial photography company to investigate, or ask the businessman who constructed this mansion about what happened at the time, we could probably find some way to search for it. That's right. At least we have more options now as opposed to when we weren't sure it existed. Indeed. It may be worth investigating right away. The siblings will do that investigation together. We won't leave you on your own, Nii-san. It wasn't yet certain that the gold was hidden in that secret mansion, but the sparks seemed to have started flying between Kraus and Ava already. Give it a rest for now, you two. Rosa, please continue. Yes. Blindly, randomly, I kept running, on and on. Suddenly, I came across something I thought was an animal trail. I was very tired and had no idea how far I'd walked. So, at that time, I naturally took the easiest path. As I did, suddenly, right before my eyes, a very, very tall fence appeared. It was a fence wonderfully adorned in a Gothic style. For an instant, I thought I'd gotten turned around and returned to the original mansion. Of course, there were fences around the mansion to stop us from entering the forest. But this fence was decorated differently and, moreover, it was very tall. It probably reached a full 2 stories up. It was covered with ivy and created a mysterious, solemn atmosphere. At the time, I believed in the legend of the Witch of the Forest, Beatrice. I had been told that she was frightening, but some of the servants told me that she'd sometimes help you if you respected her. Since I had little confidence in those days, I believed the only way I could be saved was by receiving her help. Well, yeah, they did say that Rosa is like design talent, right? And it could happen. I don't know. They probably had very snooty education. That's why I thought what I did. I believed that this was the fence of the mansion belonging to Beatrice, the Witch of the Forest. I thought that if I could meet with Beatrice, she'd definitely save me. So I decided to try going in. But the fence was very, very tall, and it didn't look like I'd be able to go over it. So I chose to walk around it. I thought that if I did, I'd eventually reach a gate. But it wasn't that easy. The fence had an incredible length to match its incredible height, and no matter how far I went, I didn't reach a corner. It might have encircled a massive area, or maybe I just had that impression because my child's legs made it difficult to walk in the forest. Anyway, I couldn't find a gate for a while, and I started to feel sad as though the witch had rejected me. As I did, I eventually came upon a large tree, whose twisted root had bent the fence. It might get my clothes dirty, but if I crawled, it looked like I'd be able to sneak in. And there you found the hidden mansion. I don't know if it was the hidden mansion we've been talking about. Still, at the very least, it wasn't a place that we know of. It wasn't as though I came out into a garden as soon as I passed the fence. I had to continue through a lot more uncultivated forest after that. As I did, the forest suddenly opened up, and what appeared there was an unbelievably fantastical scene. To think that on Rokkanjima, where I thought only we lived, there could be such a wonderful mansion hidden away. A beautiful flower garden spanned the front of the mansion. It was a flower garden of a completely different design from the rose garden we know so well, and it was very lovely. Of course, the mansion was also wonderful. It was a couple sizes smaller than ours, but it was still elegant and adorable at the same time. Then, I saw her figure. I saw her sitting in a garden chair positioned to give a view of the flower garden, wearing an elegant dress. It was that black dress embroidered in gold that we would later know from that portrait. I hadn't seen an elegant dress like that except in fairy tales and on the stage of musicals. For a person to be wearing it as her normal clothes, that in itself seemed quite fantastical. That mysterious scene was enough to make me lose my sense of reality. If someone had told me then that it was a dream, I might have nodded obediently and waited to wake up in my bed. I'd forgotten to hide myself in my shock, so she eventually spotted me. At first, her expression was quite listless, but when she noticed me, her eyes opened very wide. It was only natural, considering that a guest she didn't know had suddenly appeared. I lowered my head automatically, planning to greet her and apologize for entering without permission. "Who are you? The new gardener?" Those were the first words she said to me. I grew slightly calmer, because I realized that we could talk to each other. Because I hadn't been turned into a frog just by meeting her eyes, like the terrifying witch in a fairy tale. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have entered the garden without permission. Who are you? Name yourself. I am Ushinomiya Rosa. Ushinomiya... Oh. One of Kinzo's family. Huh? Yes. I'm Kinzo's daughter. Good afternoon. I was a little surprised. After all, father was a great man, feared by everyone. And yet, she had spoken of him without using honorifics. So I was immediately terrified of her. After all, if she could refer to my fearsome father that way, she must be a witch with incredible power. After staring at me curiously, she beckoned me to come over. Frightened as I was, I obeyed. After all, I thought she might really turn me into a frog. The closer I got, the stronger that fear became. After all, as I keep saying over and over, that woman and her dress and the flower garden in the mansion, that whole picture was so fantastical and beautiful that it seemed separate from reality. It probably wouldn't have surprised me at all to learn that she really was a witch. And I really was lucky. She hadn't turned me into a frog. As I awkwardly stood there, stock still, she motioned to an open chair and urged me to sit down. Have a seat. Welcoming and speaking to those who visit this garden for the first time is my sole pleasure. Of course, I have no pleasures other than that. As she said this, she let an unhappy smile show for just an instant. Because I was full of a strange mix of tension and excitement, I rudely asked her a question all of a sudden. Are you the witch of the forest, Beatrice? Indeed, I am Beatrice. As I thought, Beatrice actually existed. Did she really look like the portrait? Yes, really, just like the portrait. So, she wasn't just a witch from father's imagination. Well, what did you talk with her about?
as she prepared some tea, she asked me all kinds of things about myself. First, she was surprised that I had come through the forest. It seemed she believed that many dangerous wolves lived outside the fence. So when I told her I'd come through the forest to reach this place, she was shocked. She asked how I had managed to escape from the wolves. Did I give them a biscuit and they let me go? Or did I cover myself in a magic cloak? That kind of thing.
That sure sounds like a witch. What an interesting person.
Quiet, dear. This goes way back.
But didn't Father threaten us, saying that we should never get near the forest because of the wolves that lived there? Yes, he did say something of the sort. Ridiculous. Even though Japanese wolves went extinct long ago. Truly a trick to fool children. I don't remember, though. Did Dad really tell us something like that? It was the witch of the forest, right? I don't think I've ever heard about wolves.
This was when you were still in elementary school. Don't you remember? Back then, you actually said you thought it'd be cool to try petting the wolves. Father immediately gave up the wolf story and changed it to the story about the witch.
Seriously, what transparent lies they were. At the time, the witch story had a much more immediate effect on you, Rudolph, than the wolves. I remember it well. Don't you remember those nights when you clung to my back?
I see. So even Rudolph's son used to be that cute.
Shut up. I was just a kid.
Well, at any rate, if Father's the one who shut Beatrice up in there, it makes sense that he'd use the same story about wolves. To him, the vast forest of Rokujima was a wall that should be crossed, dividing his two incompatible worlds, the Ushinomiya family and his mistress's mansion.
Considering the height of that fence, it does sound as though Father turned that whole area, garden and all, into a giant jail cell. Just like a border dividing his two separate worlds. Yeah, he lied left and right just to make sure that the two families never met. What a creep. And Rosa does sound very impressed by Beatrice, but if I recall correctly, she's like early teens. Younger than that even. But I don't remember entirely. But you know, young kids can have crushes too. It's possible.
Wolves aside, could there have been some breed of stray dogs there at the time? Perhaps the fence was there to protect against those.
Oh, Natsuki, you're so pure.
There aren't any wolves or stray dogs on the Rokujima. That fence was probably a border between us and Beatrice.
But if she innocently believed that story about wolves, that's pretty naive. That's nothing like what I'd expect a witch to do.
You're right. I sensed that too. She was very pompous, just like my image of a witch, but she was somehow very childish. She was, how should I put it, too straightforward. She gave me the impression that she didn't know anything about the world. It was as though she'd come from some fairy tale land. She really was a strange person.
What happened after that? Did you end up talking about Dad at all?
Yes. Once every few days, usually on an arranged day, but sometimes suddenly, Father would casually appear and they'd drink together, or else take a walk together or something. She said she just happened to be alone on the day I visited. Thank you, I will save. Vape is always with the reminders. I appreciate it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Lulu, you might have a point there.
I see. An obvious mistress, you might say. My. I don't know how much younger she was, but good for Father.
Why are you like this? God damn it. We can be sure that this was no indecent relationship. Idiot. There's no way a lover's meeting between a man and a woman wouldn't have some sensuality. Why are they all like this? What happened next? What did you talk about after that? I'd already introduced myself, so I asked about her. When I did, the atmosphere quickly grew depressing. How should I put it? She seemed to grow listless and lonely. It was that same expression I saw on her face in the beginning.
Well, she was his hidden mistress after all. If she just walked around wherever she liked, Mom might have found her. I'll bet she was practically under house arrest. Even though she had beautiful clothes, a beautiful mansion, and a garden, she must have felt pretty cramped. I'll bet she had it rough. And then?
She was definitely worried about something. I remember feeling really sad myself when I realized it wasn't something I could do anything about by talking to her. She seemed to forget I was even there. She gazed vaguely off into the distance and was silent for a long, long time. I thought I must have said something wrong. But it didn't seem to be the type of atmosphere where I could apologize. So I remained silent too for a long, long time, until she remembered I was there.
Hell yeah, Vape. Look at you with the pro gamer moves.
Good night. Thank you for dropping by, for hanging out, and for the save reminders. And sleep well.
And then she muttered unexpectedly.
Are there really no wolves beyond the fence? Huh? Yes, that's right. I've never seen wolves, not even in a zoo.
What is a zoo?
It's a place where they keep all kinds of animals. They're full of rare animals like elephants and giraffes and pandas. So there aren't any wolves in a zoo? Then, it might not be so scary. Even if there were wolves, all of the animals are put in cages, so it's safe. That's why you can safely look at them and learn about them.
The mighty witch of the forest was apparently terrified of wolves. I remember it looked pretty funny to me at the time.
How am I any different? Huh?
She didn't know about zoos. I explained how fun zoos could be, but it was very difficult for a person like her who had never visited one to understand. On the contrary, as I explained it to her, her expression grew increasingly dismal. She couldn't see the difference. Apparently, even though she lived in an elegant mansion that was surrounded by a high fence and seemed to lack for nothing, she couldn't see how she was any different from animals shut up in cages.
Who am I? Everyone calls me Beatrice, and that does indeed seem to be the name of a great witch, as you say. But that isn't me. I cannot use any magic. I simply have the soul of that witch sealed inside my body.
There was definitely something odd about her. Beyond just being cut off from the world, it seemed she truly believed that magic exists.
I think she talked about lots of weird things, but I don't remember the details. All I thought was that this might be a person to be pitied.
She was unable to leave this mansion of her own free will, a prisoner without even realizing it. And she didn't know anything about the outside world, didn't even understand who she was. She probably vaguely realized that she was to be pitied. But since she didn't know anything, she seemed incapable of recognizing her own unhappiness. Long ago, when I told Naesan that I felt sorry for a bird in a cage, she said this: "A bird that only knows about the inside of a cage doesn't long for the outside." But this wasn't a bird. She really was a person. Even if she'd never been outside the cage, she understood that there was more to the world. So,
I invited her. Do you want to try going outside the fence? There really aren't any wolves. There aren't. You'll definitely be safe. I want to leave, but the gate is always closed. There's the place I came in through. It's got a crack you can slip through. If we go through there, will there be a world outside? Yes. There really aren't any wolves. Right, there aren't any. I'd only planned on inviting her to go on a short walk, but she kept looking over her shoulder at the mansion as though she was seriously worrying over the decision. Then I learned what she was preparing herself for. I have had enough of this place. I want to go outside. And I want to know who I am, and what's happening in this world, and why I was born. I didn't know what her life had been like before then. It was probably something she couldn't express easily. If it was harsh, she just had to say she wanted to escape. If it was sweet, she just had to say she'd stay. For example, maybe it was like how a hot fireplace on a winter day makes the air get thicker and thicker, giving you a headache. Even though you know you shouldn't keep things the way they are, you still need courage to open the window and be tormented by the cold wind. She was starting to realize that she couldn't stay there forever. She was starting to realize that she had to go outside someday. But, since she didn't know about the outside world, she must have needed courage to take that unspeakable first step outside. And despite that, she had made her decision. She'd voiced her decision to go outside, a decision she was probably making for the first time in her life. I hesitated for a moment. Father had decided that she should live here. She was like Father's beloved bird in a cage. If I just let her escape, Father might scold me harshly. I want to see. See what? I want to see a zoo. Ah. I was just a little surprised when she finally gave me a gentle smile. Could that have been a farsightedness brought about by her decision to venture out from her cage? It was a smile so gentle I couldn't imagine that it had come from that once dark face. When I speak with you, I keep hearing about things I don't know. I don't even know about this thing called school, nor do I know about zoos. I don't know about movie theaters. I don't know about amusement parks. And I feel, from the bottom of my heart, that I want to know about those things. Will you take me to see them? Huh? Yes. I was nervous about how I could keep it a secret from Father, but her face looked so happy, so I went along with her and nodded. But she seemed not to notice the meaning behind my vague smile. She seemed to believe that I'd really take her to all those places. She was pure and genuine. She'd probably never been tricked by anyone. No, maybe it's better to say that she'd never learned how to doubt. Her smile was somehow radiant and yet pathetic. I wanted to find a way to grant her modest wish. I have had enough of Beatrice. I want to know who I am. I want to start out as a new human, not Beatrice. So I want you to take me away from here. I don't need tea anymore. I don't need this dress. I won't meet with Kinzo again. Please, take me from here, Rosa. However, that responsibility was one that a child like me couldn't hope to fully bear. Still, when I saw her serious gaze, along with that brilliant smile that made it look as though a possessing spirit had left her, I could feel a little courage start to rise up inside me. This was definitely something that would get me into a lot of trouble, and yet, it was definitely the right thing to do. I don't know how it'll turn out, but I'll take her away from here. Of course, I won't be able to talk to father and not mother either. Should I talk to Onisama or Onisama? No, what about that reliable Genji-san? Or, that's right, what about Kumasawa-san, to whom I can always talk when I'm in trouble? I'm sure they'll be able to do something. Anyway, for now, I'll take her out of here. This was already a place she didn't want to be. So I took her to the crack in the fence and led her outside. She was all nervous, checking to make sure there were no wolves around. But once that fear disappeared, even just walking around this dense forest seemed to be fun somehow. Every time she found something, she'd ask me about it. And they were all really trivial things. What's that flower? What's that leaf? And that sound? And that smell? It really was like the inside of that fence had been her entire world. I will drink some water. I'll do it right now, actually. There we go. Thank you. So now that she'd traveled beyond the limits of her world, it's strange. When I first saw her, I really thought she was the witch herself, relaxing inside the witch's mansion. But now it was different. Or actually, the complete opposite. She'd left a world she'd believed to be finite, and was overjoyed at the realization that the world was endless, something she'd never thought of before. So everything she saw was new. It was almost as though she was the one who had been thrown into a fairy tale. If she was Alice, then I felt almost like a rabbit holding a watch. To her, it was probably a really fun walk, filled to the brim with excitement. But I was actually at a loss at what to do. After all, I walked randomly to get there. Of course I didn't know the way back to our mansion. There were no lights in the forest, and I hadn't brought a flashlight. I realized it would be terrible if it got dark while we were still like this, and grew impatient. She was too innocent, and apparently she couldn't understand at all how frightening it would be to face the night inside the forest. But I was the one who brought her outside. I had to take responsibility somehow and resolve the situation. So I had a thought. Let's go out to the ocean for now. If we then follow the beach around, we should eventually make it back to the mansion. However, that was much more of a problem than I'd imagined. I didn't have a map or a compass. There was no way I could walk in a straight line through an uncultivated forest, and I immediately lost my sense of direction. I already had no clue which trail I had come by and was completely lost. At this rate, night would definitely befall before I had a clue where to walk. But this was no time to cry. After all, that woman following behind me was so innocent and having so much fun. I definitely had to lead the way through this forest, for the sake of her smile as well. Gritting my teeth so that she didn't see me looking troubled, I pushed my way through the woods, advancing down a path that wasn't a path. Then, after going through various troubles, I fortunately managed to reach the ocean. At that time, I still didn't even have a clue where I was on the island. But for the time being, I was just a little reassured, realizing that if I just went around this way, I would surely be able to return to the mansion. However, though I had reached the ocean, we were at the top of a rock cliff. The beach was far below us. I was tired from walking around the forest for so long, so I figured that an open area, even a rocky beach, would probably be much easier to walk in. So I suggested that we go down that rocky cliff somehow. It looked pretty dangerous, but I figured there was no other way. However, Beatrice agreed to my plan without any doubts. Even though she was probably older than me, she meekly obeyed, almost as though she was some kind of chick who thought I was her mother. I searched to see if there was some part of the cliff I'd be able to get down. Then, I found a place where the cliff had fallen over and made a slope. It looked a little dangerous, but if I went down using both hands and both legs like I was crawling, I thought it'd probably be okay. Let's go down here. It'll be dangerous if we aren't careful. But if we go down to the beach and walk along it, I don't think we'll have to worry about being lost anymore. Indeed. If that's what you're doing, I'll go too. Even getting lost is fun for me. Quite amusing. She really had no sense of danger. There was probably no doubt that she'd lived a life without discomfort. Even though she knew it would get dark when night fell. She couldn't imagine how dangerous the inside of a forest could be without a light. Furthermore, it seemed that she couldn't grasp at all how dangerous it might be if she fell from the cliff. I warned her repeatedly to be careful. I cautiously examined our potential route down. It seemed to be quite a long drop. I think it might have been about 10 meters down. If you looked at it from the bottom up, it would probably have looked shorter than the roof of the mansion. But looking from the top, it felt almost like staring down from the observation room on Tokyo Tower. But Beatrice still appeared to be completely without fear. It felt as though she had never even been taught that high places were dangerous. No, maybe she believed that she was a witch, and that she could fly so there wasn't any need to worry. Please be careful. We're pretty high up. Indeed. I shall be careful. It looks like we can get to the ocean if we go down. Is there an aquarium there? No, there aren't any aquariums on this island. But there should be lots of fish in the sea. I see. So there are fish. Are there whales and dolphins and penguins like you talked about? No, you'd have to go to an aquarium for those. And you'd have to leave this island to find an aquarium. Is that so? Well, I'm looking forward to it. What kind of fish are whales? They're really big fish. Aren't they mammals? And they spit seawater into the air. And dolphins? They're really smart fish. Aren't they also mammals? They're really smart and can be taught tricks and stuff. Then what about penguins? Aren't they birds? What's going on? We're talking about aquariums, but none of these things seem to be fish. There aren't just fish, it's full of all kinds of things that live in the ocean. Oh, I really am looking forward to that. She let out what might have been a funny, rushed and short cry. No, it was probably a scream. It came right out of the blue. Our bodies separated from the cliff and silently fell. I immediately wanted to say something to her. I wanted to say, "Didn't I tell you to be more careful?" It was the thought of a child. It was how a child immediately gets mad when something bad happens, trying to find an excuse to show that it wasn't their fault. Of course, I said it out loud. "Are you okay? Didn't I warn you over and over?" So, she fell from the cliff. And then what? What happened to her, Rosa? Rosa fell silent. Her gaze dropped to her feet, as though she was seeing through the floor into some disgusting memory. She died, didn't she? Ava's brutal words were the ones Rosa had most wanted to avoid. And when she was hit with them, she screamed in resignation. Yes, she died. It was a rocky beach with lots of sharp, dangerous rocks exposed. Her eyes were still open and an incredible amount of blood kept pouring out, quickly spreading out until it looked like a red carpet. I spoke to her, I shook her, but she refused to respond, not even a blink. No, she wouldn't even close her eyelids. It was my fault. She was wearing a dress, remember? Even though I knew her outfit was difficult to move in, I said we should go down the cliff. She was incredibly innocent, so she obeyed what I said without any doubts.
How long do you plan on remaining dead? Open your eyes already. Darn you, turning into a lump of meat all by yourself while I'm gone. I was just flirting with your ass Nachon friends. More importantly, what the heck is going on here? Well, as you can see, I missed my footing, fell down, and died. What the hell? Even though you showed up as the 19th person, you were already dead? Don't mess with me, that's impossible. Aunt Rosa was a kid, and she panicked. And it's not like a doctor was there. She probably just mistakenly thought you were dead, and you were probably alive and pretending to be dead or something. Isn't that right? It can't be true. She's got to be alive. Otherwise, how can she be here? The kid-aged Aunt Rosa shook Beatrice's body, crying. I stared into that face too, but her eyes were still open, and it really was a corpse. I wanted to dodge the issue by saying something vague like she must be playing dead, but no matter how I looked at it, it didn't look fake at all. It really did look like she was dead. Beatrice had fallen upside down from a cliff of that height, and her head had smashed against the pointed tip of those sharp rocks. Yeah, you probably would die after landing on those rocks from that height. But I couldn't accept it. No matter how dead she looked, she had to be alive. Then she went on to become this damn irritating witch. That makes all the inconsistencies fit. Grandfather must have kept her confined, constantly in a hidden mansion. Then, to take revenge for that, she committed several atrocious murders. Aunt Rosa probably just mistakenly thought she was dead. But she was actually alive, and as soon as Aunt Rosa left, would miraculously breathe again. Then, she somehow lived on until today and opened the curtain on her revenge drama. Otherwise, the facts don't fit together. I won't let you trick me so easily. Can you repeat it in red? That she's certainly dead. She has to be alive, right? It's obvious. How does that look alive to you? It's definitely dead. My theory that the 19th person was grandfather's mistress, a human Beatrice, had been defeated. I had planned to strike back from a defensive position, but... Then who are you? You just died, right? Don't tell me you revived yourself with magic. I've already explained that, have I not? The me lying over there definitely possesses my soul, but that body is nothing more than a cage of flesh tying me to the physical world. This is how that cage of flesh was broken. Do you understand what that means? I don't have a clue anymore. Keep having fun with your witch girl tricks. I'll listen to that in place of a snack. What the? It's empty. Hey, could I get some more black tea? Ronove, our guest would like some tea. When Beato clapped her hands, Ronove appeared. Butler sure are convenient. I guess what she's saying is that her soul then started murdering. A refill, you say? Certainly. How much shall I pour you? Well, I've got more than enough snacks. Half will be fine. Even so, filling it to the brim is the English custom. Even though just enough to wet my throat would have been fine, he filled it to the top. I turned my back to Beato, sipping it in silence. I'm also just going to take a quick sip. Yeah, she's basically saying like, hey, I got out of prison, and then I started blasting. There's some time in between, of course, but that's kind of it. Of course, we don't know to what extent that's, true or not. It's all up for interpretation. Actually, I think this is a good place to take a quick break. So I'm just gonna be right back. Because I'm very, very thirsty. But I'll leave you with some music. Alright. I have returned. Let me just turn that down. Turn this back up. And we'll just dive right back in.
Hey, open your eyes. Beatrice.
Rosa shook me. No. Shook the corpse that had once been me. I watched over her from a short distance away. So I fell from there and died. For a while I believed that was true. I saw Rosa spend a long time beside my corpse, then watched her as she ran away. Eventually I realized that I was a different individual from that corpse. That's right. I am me. So, I finally managed to escape from Kinzo's bonds. Eventually, I felt the memory returning. The fact that I was an endless witch who had lived for 1,000 years. Then, I remembered that I'd been summoned by Kinzo and that I'd been imprisoned by him for a long time. While being imprisoned in a cage of flesh, I completely lost my memory as a witch. However, thanks to Rosa, if you could say that, thanks to my accidental death, I'd now finally regained myself. Rosa, you probably regret bringing about my death, but I should be thanking you. I couldn't see Rosa anymore. Did you go to call a doctor, or was she so terrified that she ran away? It no longer matters. That soulless shell no longer has any value. And yet, I'm so frail now. Even this glorious midday sun is agony to me. I destroyed my human form. Then, I changed it into several gold butterflies. Yes, with my magical power as frail as it is now, this form is easier to maintain. To escape even a little from the light of the sun, I rode the wind and gently flew up the side of the cliff. It'll probably be a bit cooler in the forest. Anyway, I'll take some time to recuperate and regain my former power. As I ponder how to make Kinzo pay up all he owes me. It's hot while it's raining? Damn. Lulu, you might be a witch. According to this game they were playing. Though, I mean, she hasn't mentioned rain, but you know. I'm making shit up, that's fine. Dancing alone through the air, I looked down at the shore one more time. On the rocky shore lay the figure of what had once been me, the figure I would eventually regain. To regain the form of that physical body I had thrown away, it would probably take more than 100, 200 days. And it might require 1,000 days, or perhaps even more. You say that when it rains while the sun is out, a witch is marrying? Cool. Here we say it's there's a carnival in hell, is what we say.
Your mom used to tell you she's a witch? Holy shit. That's right.
At least I'm assuming that that's a good, like a cool, good thing. Hey. Sorry. I got distracted by witchy talk. Speaking of witchy talk. However, I am the Endless Witch. The Golden Witch who has lived for 1,000 years. Waiting any countable number of days would be no problem. Oh, Kinzo. Regret that you are not here now. No longer will you be able to capture me. Also, don't be sorry for distracting me. That was a cool little thing that you just told me, and I thought it was neat. And I wouldn't be live streaming this if I didn't want people to talk to me while I was doing it. And then you changed the gold butterflies, hid in the forest, and waited for your magical power to be restored? Is that what you're saying? That is correct. I take this form to sneer at you, but most of the time it is easier, magically, for me to keep my form as gold butterflies. Hey, feel free to take a load off and stick to whatever's easiest. I wouldn't mind not having to hear your irritating laugh. When I turned into butterflies and slipped into the forest, it was already no longer possible for Kinzo to find me. However, Kinzo was not dismayed. Still, he was not immediately able to prepare a way to catch me. So he first moved to prevent me from leaving this island, and to keep me from regaining my power. My, at any rate, Kinzo's spitefulness was unimaginable. It was pretty tough to be loved by someone like that. He found a way to keep you from leaving after you turned into butterflies? What, did he put a bug net around the entire forest? Indeed, a magical one. Didn't you know? On the sea in front of the harbor is a reef, upon which sits a small shrine of Eastern magic. Ah, that. It was gone by this year, though. It was a small shrine built long ago by Shugenja, right? From the very beginning, Rokanjima has been an island enveloped by a distortion. It attracts things of magical power and other related creatures. Milady herself is one of them. How about some more tea? Please. They brought harm to humans and probably left several eerie legends in their wake. That small shrine was built in ancient times by an Eastern magician who heard of them. A long time passed and that power was lost. By repairing it, Kinzo restored this island's barrier and once again bound me to the island. Can Eastern magic work on a Western witch like you? Normally, the affinity would be poor. However, for the purpose of sealing me here, it may have been quite convenient in a way. If it was Western magic, I would have had some knowledge. For any barrier, there would have been some measures I could have taken. But Eastern magic is outside of my area of expertise. It was as if I had been given chopsticks instead of a spoon for some soup that I wanted to drink. In a space dominated by Eastern magic, Western magic loses much of its power. Even if she were given 1,000 days to regain her strength, she would have to wait many, many more. So you're saying it took you 20 years to regain your power and now you've revived, as we can all see? Those were horribly long years. I spent many days in the form of golden butterflies, found Kinzo's mansion, and watched over him every day.
I lived through those days with no means to enjoy myself except to ponder how I would get back at him. That period of 20 years was fortunate for me. Kinzo tried to use all sorts of magic to find and capture me, but each failed. There's a limit to how many miracles a single human can bring about. Even simply holding me captive for that long had been a miracle far above his place. It would be unthinkable for me to be captured like that multiple times. Grandfather said something in the previous game. It was something like, magic lies in a miracle of probability. Indeed. As Kinzo was searching for a hidden art to capture me again, he stumbled upon that. Then, he finally worked out the ceremony involving the offering of 13 people as sacrifices to revive me again. 13 people as sacrifices. That is the witch's epitaph. A song of sacrifices. 6 people on the first twilight, 2 people on the second, and then 5 more people on the 4th through 8th, 8 twilights. A forbidden ceremony involving the offering of a total of 13 people as sacrifices. Those sacrifices were to be chosen randomly, and the one who held the ceremony, Kinzo himself, was no exception. Dumbass. Are you saying that all the gruesome murders on this island were a weird ceremony? I'd had a vague idea that this might be the case, but I couldn't just hear that it was true from a witch and a demon and say, "Oh really?" and accept it. There are 18 people on the Rokujima. 13 are offered as sacrifices and 5 are left alive. Then I revive. In other words, the odds that Kinzo will be able to meet me again are probably around 1 in 3. He bet his own life on those odds, wishing for a reunion with me for the last bit of his remaining life. You're saying he gathered our family for the sake of that joke of a ceremony? Don't fuck with me. Don't say stuff like that, damn it. It was all set out in our contract from the beginning. When Kinzo's life ended, all the gold I lent him and all of the assets he created would be given to me. Yes, Kinzo did stab me in the back quite brutally, but looking back now, it was a rare and precious time during my 1,000 years of life. After all, boredom is my natural enemy. To Kinzo, who offered me a chance to run away from that for several decades. Yes, you could say I owe him for that. I decided to go along with Kinzo's game. So to start, Kinzo returns the Ushiromiya family head's ring to me. It was my gold that revived the family after all. Then, 13 people are chosen at random to be sacrifices. While that happens, you all run about, showing me all kinds of human interactions as you try to oppose me, and entertaining me greatly. Yes, I truly have taken a liking to this game of Kinzo's. Yeah, this is pretty much to be expected of Kinzo. What a bastard. I definitely won't believe in that kind of magic story. Then who are you? You fell off a cliff and died, right? Your soul slipped out, became butterflies, and went to the forest? That isn't possible. But you're here. Who are you? Aren't you the 19th person? That is true. I am the 19th person. But it's useless, right? It's all useless. There are no more than 18 humans on this Rokujima. What did you say? So you're saying that the X and the 18 plus X doesn't exist? Are you saying the piece I took, the X, doesn't exist? That is what this means. My condolences. Still, you do move fast, milady. And I thought you'd let him flounder about before spinning everything around at the end.
Well then, Butler-sama, would some more tea be agreeable?
I don't need it, damn it. I don't believe it. The culprit can't be one of the 18. Then what are you, and why are you here? If the 19th person doesn't exist, then are you saying you're one of the 18 in disguise? Perhaps you are, Castling. Though reluctantly, you are doubting one of the 18 people as your last way out. However, it will be difficult for me from here on out. If you choose to stop caring about propriety, you could prepare the culprit freely amid 18 people. Making you reach checkmate by evading those 18 people will be truly difficult. As if I do that, I won't suspect any of the 18. I don't want to suspect people. Have you really been cornered here again? Damn it. It looks like we're finally approaching the end. The third round of this game of ours. You have nowhere to run anymore, right? You don't want to suspect any of those beloved people in the 18, do you? Were you trying to hide that from me? Then why do you refuse me? They say you should play the opening like a book, the middle game like a magician, and the end game like a machine. I'll corner you from here on. Slowly, carefully, surely. Or, on the other hand, would it be better if I pressed you all at once? Which might suit your style more. Yes, that should fit you well, let's do that. I'm now fully aware of the sorts of attacks you're weakest against. I mean, Kinza being the killer could happen. Guess we'll find out.
Well then, how will this game be resolved? You may submit, or you may resist. Either way, it will truly be an entertaining banquet worth betting my short remaining life on. In his dimly lit study, occasionally brightened by lightning, Kinzo kept mumbling and laughing to himself. On the antique clock with the intricate design that had been sitting on his desk, the two overlapping hands tilted to the right and began to slide. The measure of time that counted up to 24 had returned to 0, and had begun to count back again. Measuring time is a brutal thing. It drags itself all the way to 24 over the course of a day and then returns back to 0. It certainly did count to 23 hours and 59 minutes. However, is it ever able to reach 24 hours? 2400? If you conclude that it returns to 0 again without reaching 24, how futile it must all be. But perhaps a person's life is the same. You live aiming for a perfect 24, and in the instant you reach it, you return to 0. People will probably praise the departed, saying that he did reach 24, but he most certainly did not. In the end, he's a 0. I am different. I will live and reach 24. That itself is the Golden Land. For that is where Beatrice dwells. Kinzo had been fumbling around with some tarot cards for some time. It looked as though he was trying to divine his own luck with a contest, doing it over every time he didn't like the result. The most forbidden action in tarot reading is trying to predict the same thing twice. To do so ridicules the results of fortune-telling, and also desecrates those beings higher than humans that give revelations through the tarot cards. However, Kinzo knew tarot cards shouldn't be used twice because, since they're nothing more than a random number generator, reading them twice will naturally cause a different result to appear. Therefore, reading them twice was only forbidden to preserve the mystique of the tarot card's results. However, that didn't mean that Kinzo didn't take tarot reading seriously. Kinzo's interpretation of tarot reading was done in a completely different way. That was to repeat the reading over and over, without giving up in the slightest, until he reached the result most favorable to him. The mark he set for his most favorable result would vary. When he demanded the most favorable result, when he demanded the most favorable result in a strictly literal sense, it was the same as a simple roulette of luck, where he sought an arithmetic miracle. However, Kinzo used miracles of numbers as the basis of his magical power, so this functioned perfectly well as a magical ritual. Reading is hard. In other words, until the result he desired appeared perfectly, he would strive to repeat the tarot readings over and over, with conviction, turning the feelings of his heart into prayers, so that when they reached the heavens, they would be sublimated into results. This was Kinzo's personal magical interpretation. Therefore, even though Kinzo's tarot cards were no different from those generally used, the way in which they were used was completely different. Tonight will not go as I thought. Kinzo stopped his hands for a second. He seemed not to be getting the results he wanted. On the contrary, bad cards that shouldn't show up so often appeared repeatedly, and continued to interfere with the miracle Kinzo wished for. Is that how it is? Kinzo seemed to have received some revelation that was different from normal. But, judging by the unlucky cards scattered across his deck, it was difficult to imagine that the omen had been a good one. For a while, Kinzo closed his eyes tightly, pondering something. Then, as the thunder roared, he made up his mind about something, took the telephone receiver and dialed. It is I. Is Genji there? An urgent matter has come up.
In front of the entrance hall, Shannon's once burning face had been cooled off by the frigid air. She thought that George's proposal would surely come, sooner or later. It wasn't as though she hadn't prepared herself mentally, and she had answered by nodding. Had she been reckless because of her youth? Should she have thought about her future more seriously? I wonder if my immediate reply made him think I'm a cheap girl. If I'd at least waited until tomorrow morning, would that at least have shown him I was taking this seriously? Now that she'd already received the ring from George, Shannon kept fidgeting in embarrassment. I should have done this, I should have done that. As she did, she heard the sound of footsteps splashing through puddles. Shannon immediately chased away the emotions welling up inside her. Genji-sama, and Kono-kun too. I'm sorry, I have to go back soon. She grew stiff, thinking she'd surely be scolded for spending too much time in her secret lover's meeting with George.
Shannon, the master told us to come to the study, saying it was urgent. Let us hurry.
Huh? Yes, certainly. What in the world? He said he had a premonition of misfortune. How convenient for him, considering he's the one who started this ceremony.
We will enter from the back, so that Goda doesn't notice us. Hide your footsteps.
Yes. Nesa, take care. You're so noisy. Kanon was especially good at hiding his footsteps, just like a cat. He was able to suddenly be there without anyone noticing and leave in the same way. For example, even though he stepped in puddles, the sound he made was far smaller than that of the rain hitting them. Genji also had abilities of that kind. Or rather, those servants called furniture were supposed to be like that. Just like how desks and closets go unnoticed by members of the family. These servants also held it as a great virtue to just suddenly be there whenever they were needed. Compared to that, Shannon's footsteps still strongly asserted themselves. She was also trying to hide her footsteps, but compared to Kanon and Genji, well, you could say she was a little more boisterous. Eventually, they reached the back door and the three of them entered the mansion. Immediately, they thought they felt something. It was different from a sense of smell, and it seemed to hit the depths of their noses. This hard-to-describe sensation, which you might call a sixth sense, allowed them to perceive that something was different than usual. Genji-sama.
Indeed. Let us hurry.
That sensation made it feel as though a tense something was pressing in around them. Realizing that, the three of them dashed up the stairs, heading for Kinzo's study while still hiding their footsteps. When they dashed up the stairs, that smell of sweet poison particular to Kinzo's study reached their noses. What is it, Genji-sama? The barrier is dead. Huh? After hearing Kanon's words, she looked at the door to the study. A scorpion pattern was engraved on the doorknob, a powerful ward against magic. The final barrier which protected Kinzo himself. It had been broken. Of course, there was no change to the doorknob that the eye could see. However, those who could understand things people couldn't perceive were able to recognize that a dramatic change had occurred.
Master, it is Genji. Please open the door.
Genji called in this way after knocking several times,
but there was no answer from the study. Shannon, guard our backs. Cunnel, search inside the room.
Yes.
Cunnel put his ear against the door, searching for a presence inside the study. To protect the backs of the pair watching the door, Shannon faced the other way, ready for the unexpected.
The master must be in there, but it's too quiet.
Do you mean to say he's safe?
No, it's too quiet. Could it possibly be?
Master, excuse us about the door. Genji pulled a gold key out of his pocket. It was the only key to the study that existed, other than the one Kinzo held. He stuck it in the keyhole and turned it heavily. At first glance, that seemed to prove that it was a sturdy lock. However, now that the barrier had been destroyed, this door might as well have been left open, from the viewpoint of anyone with magical power. The heavy sound just now meant that the door had now been opened even for humans. Excuse me. As Genji respectfully bowed his head, Kanon's sense of tension grew tighter, and Shannon trembled. They entered the study. They immediately discovered Kinzo's figure. He was sitting on the reception sofa so that his back faced them. Genji noticed the person sitting across from him, and again bowed deeply. Kanon also noticed that person, but he didn't bow his head. He stood in front of Shannon and spread out his arms, blocking the way to her. So without even seeing that person's face, Shannon already had a good idea who it was. So, you've come, Beatrice-sama.
Genji, is it? You came very quickly. Yes, it is always best when furniture answers to their master's call quickly. Unlike this person.
So, Ronove-sama has come as well.
Genji directed his greeting towards the thin darkness behind and to the right of Beatrice, where there shouldn't have been anything. Even Kanon and Shannon would never have imagined that someone was there. However, the darkness responded immediately and praised Genji's eyesight.
As usual, you don't disappoint. It has been quite some time. Still, you've grown old, haven't you? Have so many years truly passed you by? My days have been full and satisfying. It appears you have been living quite a full life yourself, Ronove-sama. Yes, thank you. And Shannon, it has been a long time since I last saw you as well. You've grown quite beautiful. And it seems that you have grown quite strong. That is fortunate.
Thank you very much. Yes, who in the world?
This will be our first meeting, Karon-kun. I, Ronove, have been entrusted with the position of Beatrice-sama's head furniture. I am an old friend of Genji-san's. And I am also furniture, just like you. Although the master I serve is different. The tense color didn't disappear from Kanon's face in the slightest. Depending on the master furniture served, they might be kind or brutal or anything else. If this person claimed to be furniture serving the hated Beatrice, then he must be despicable as well.
It's not true. It's not true.
It seems I'm thoroughly despised. It's as though you hate everything that has anything to do with me. Beatrice openly sneered at Kanon's hate-filled face. Then Kanon finally realized. Beatrice and Kinzo were having a chess game across the reception table, but Kinzo hadn't even quivered. He was holding his head with both hands, his eyes closed tight as he contemplated his next move. Or was he in anguish?
Master.
I have told Kinzo two things. There was good news and bad news. The good news is that he will have the good fortune of being reunited with me before the ceremony ends. The bad news is that Kinzo has been selected as the very first sacrifice in the ceremony. There's absolutely nothing I can do about it, because it truly was decided by the fickle roulette.
Liar! We know you're just a murderer who kills for fun. Stop it, Kanonku.
So, Kinzo, isn't it about time you decided to accept your loss? With this, our long contest is at an end, yes? At a glance, it was hard to make out the situation on that chaotic chessboard. However, judging by Kinzo's anguish and Beatrice's malicious confidence, it seemed to be over already. It is unavoidable. Perhaps even this could be amusing. It is to me too. Resolving my contest with you may bring a flood of emotions, but it has already surpassed love and hate. It was fun. These past few decades certainly weren't boring. Beatrice advanced her queen and made her final move, and that decided it. Checkmate. This is my final tribute to you, without any reservations. Sleep. Right. Oh, he's just laughing. Okay. I could not decipher that. It sounded like he was in pain. Kinzo suddenly stood up and laughed, like an opera singer facing a full crowd and spreading his arms, as though he had succeeded in a century-long plan.
Holy shit.
That laugh spat crimson. Crimson flames poured out from inside him, spitting even out of his mouth, ears, and nose, and all at once his body was wrapped in hellfire. But Kinzo kept laughing. The more he laughed, the more the hellfire spewed from his entire body and began to char him. Those flames became a brilliant light, which dazzlingly shone on the various magic tools throughout the room, making their distorted shadows dance across the walls. Those shadows looked like the dead in hell, watching over Kinzo in ecstasy as he burned. And, for one who had made a contract with the witch, it was an extremely fitting end, in accordance with those terms. After laughing and howling in the roaring flames for some time, Kinzo flopped to the ground as though he was a puppet whose strings had been cut. Those incredible blazing flames disappeared as though he'd been completely burned up, and afterwards, nothing remained but a festering and burnt corpse that one could hardly bear to look at. Barbecue. It's funny because he's terrible. Horrible. You should talk. As if you didn't think that was a fitting way for him to die. Why have you shown yourself? Do you have some business with us?
Stop it, Kanonku. You must provoke Beatrice-sama.
It would seem that you have them absolutely terrified. I imagine I'll never get along with Kanon. Hey, it's not as though I dislike you particularly. Beatrice grinned. Kanon violently averted his gaze, obviously unhappy. His reaction was so different from what he wanted to do that it made the witch and her butler laugh. Kanon, you stand in the presence of Beatrice-sama. Carefully consider your manner of speech. Oh, I care not, Genji. Let him say what he pleases. I am gracious.
How are you gracious?
I am always gracious to those who are about to die. Kanon was taken aback by that creepy laughter. Beatrice wasn't here just to take Kinzo's life. The first twilight required 6 sacrifices. Kinzo alone wasn't nearly enough, and they just casually walked in here. Fear not, Kanon. It isn't as though you'll be selected as sacrifices just because you came here. After all, you were called here because you'd been selected already.
What?
Their instincts were good enough to spot her meaning instantly. 6 sacrifices were required for the first twilight. After Kinzo, how many more would you need to add up to 6? In this mansion, the number 5 instantly made them think of the number of servants here. Is that what you desire? Indeed. Thank me, furniture. Tonight, your days of suffering will finally end. You ought to thank me for coming here to tell you this. Certainly, if that is your desire.
Genji-sama.
Genji had agreed to the witch's heartless announcement with his usual demeanor, without raising an eyebrow. Now that the master is dead, Beatrice-sama is our master. Responding to her demands shall be our final duty. Shannon, Kanon, you have done well serving until today. That hard work is now over. As I expected of you, Genji. As your fellow furniture, I'm proud to have known you. Shannon, do you have any objections?
No.
I heard that George-sama gave you a ring. Do you still say that you have no regrets?
Yes. That blessing was more than furniture deserves. Just receiving the ring has already satisfied my feelings.
Shannon couldn't take quite as much of a philosophical view as Genji. There probably were regrets left in her heart. She probably wanted to spend a little more warm time with the person she cared for, George. But she released herself from that. She took a single deep breath, and a blank expression rose to her face. Very well. It does surprise me a tad to find that you've gained such composure, Shannon. It seems you too have taken a philosophical view as furniture. Won't you at least shed some bitter tears for not being able to spend a night with the man you love? What a boring woman.
This feeling cannot be understood by the likes of you, Beatrice-sama. If you desire our lives, please accept them. We will solemnly carry out that duty.
Very well. Excellently put. Just the type of person Beatrice-sama can't handle. She's been taking such a far-sighted view of things lately. I must have tormented her too much last time. Speaking of which, didn't I do the same to Battler? Am I still soft? Or is the way I corner them lacking? In any case, she's just no fun. However, it seems you will still entertain me, right? Kanon?
Kanon-ku.
Compared to the two who had taken a far-sighted approach, there was a painful anguish on Kanon's face. Kanon was still far too young to accept his demise after being told of it by a suddenly appearing witch. Kanon, I hate boredom more than anything, and the fact that the other two have obediently accepted their deaths isn't amusing at all. So I hope you don't betray my expectations. Are you trying to make me your plaything? Kanon realized that he was being provoked. However, no matter how furiously anger spurred him on, his opponent was a witch. He was furniture. He hadn't had a chance of victory from the beginning.
but the witch was expecting that he'd struggle in vain and writhe around, and was even looking forward to it. Just thinking about that was frustrating enough to get his blood boiling. Was disappointing the witch by refusing to resist like the other two the only way he could strike back at her? Eldest of the 7 sisters of purgatory, Lucifer, arise.
Lucifer of Pride, right here.
Canon, it would be far too cruel to force furniture to fight a witch. No matter how much anger spurs you on, you would have no hope in a battle without a chance of success. Of course, such a battle would be boring for me as well. So, let it be furniture against furniture. Why not resolve it with a battle between you two? That should be enough to allow you some hope for victory, right?
Forgive me, Beatrice, but how could I be inferior to this good-for-nothing furniture?
As if this cutie would have any chance against me. Prove that you can defeat my furniture, the 7 stakes of purgatory. If you manage to win... If you manage to win through... Let us see... This sentence is so confusing. Let us see. I will let you select the 5 who will escape, becoming one of the 13 sacrifices. I will welcome the 5 you recommend into the Golden Land without any conditions. How about that? And I think it's like cutie as in not tough. I don't know, though. It's like, oh, you're such a little baby, you know? I think that's where the insult is. Kanon understood that he was being provoked. However, the witch's offer was very tempting. By this point, Kanon couldn't care less about this evil ceremony the witch and the rest were trying to carry out. On the contrary, it was much more important that he remain alive so that he could be invited to the Golden Land, and have his wish granted by Beatrice there. You cried, saying you'd had enough of being furniture, right? I shall grant your desire. I shall give you that human body you wanted so much you cried yourself to sleep. What do you say? That way, you and Jessica could be together, yes? Oh, just perfect. You may recommend that Jessica and yourself be invited to the Golden Land. If you alone finding happiness isn't a satisfying solution for you, then you can add in Shannon and George, the one she loves. If you're worried about Judy, then you can also add Genji. That's 5 people. Isn't that enough, Kanon? With this much of a reward. You won't let me get bored, will you?
She's just playing with you. There's no need to listen to her.
I don't like it. Are you okay with this, Nae-san? Beatrice couldn't hide her evil smile at those words. I don't like it. I want to be happy. I've had enough of being furniture. I want to become human and have normal love. I want to know that the ocean is blue, like you. How young. I'm jealous. That's why I like the young ones. Genji, Shannon, stay back. Kanon, Lucifer, forward.
As you command. I don't like it. The way you look down on me, as if Beatrice-sama would be impossible. But with me, at least, you'd have a chance. I really don't like it.
That was probably humiliating for Lucifer. But at the same time, she was also happy that she was lucky enough to have this adorable prey all to herself. He do be cute, though. Come, furniture of the witch. Don't think that you can look down on me forever. So, Battler, isn't this a fun show? Damn it, another weird thing's happening. Like I'd ever believe in a magic battle. Look, don't turn your eyes away, look at it. Look. It's magic, it's furniture, no matter how much you try to deny me and magic. Look. If you've got all this happening right in front of you, it'd be a waste to miss it, don't you think? Look. Just stop thinking. Magic exists. This is fantasy. Don't close your eyes. Look closely. Look. Damn it. I won't accept witches. I won't accept magic. But if it's being done right in the open like that, what am I supposed to say? Damn it. Come now. Don't turn away. Look closely, okay? Magic exists. This is fantasy, so stop playing detective. I know your secret. You actually don't really like to think things through, right? Then just stop. Look, it's gotta be fantasy. Shut up. Don't talk to me. This guy's getting stubborn. Won't you apologize and crawl on the ground right now for being so conceited that you thought you could beat me? If you did, I wouldn't mind forgiving you, okay? Then you wouldn't have to have your skin ripped off while you're still alive. Or get lashed all over your body as you squirm until you die. You're a cutie, so apologize. If you do, I'll finish you off so gently while it still feels great. Be silent, furniture of the witch. I have no intention of speaking with you. So you're saying you think nothing of me? That disrespectful gaze of yours? It's really ticking me off. Kanon-kun. Isn't he stronger than he was against Satan?
This is why humans are so frightening. In fact, sometimes they even become witches and treat demons as butlers.
So, which side should I cheer on? Are you saying this guy's on par with me? Don't look down on me. As long as you have that pride, you'll never defeat me. You speak of Lucifer, the eldest of the 7 sisters of purgatory, and say that I cannot win? How conceited. What?
Kanon was desperately trying to stay alive, and he had a strong desire to become human. But Lucifer didn't feel anything stronger than a slight desire to play. So that led to an inevitable result. It was a result that could be reached by the power of humans, the power of the heart.
That's as far as you go. You cannot win against me.
The glowing red curve extended straight out from Kanon's arm, pointing at Lucifer's throat, just beneath the tip of her chin.
What is this? How could I? There must be some mistake.
As she ground her teeth in irritation, she tried to deny the truth right before her eyes. But no matter how much she believed in her own superiority, it didn't change the facts right in front of her. Well done, Kanon. Wonderful, you haven't bored me. How pitiful my furniture is compared to that. You are boring, milady. Was this opponent really too much for you to handle?
I'm disappointed, eldest of the 7 stakes. It would have seemed like mere rebuke to an outsider. However, furniture serving the witch knew what kind of severe treatment was promised by that rebuke, and understood what had been left unsaid. You good-for-nothing furniture! She howled. Abandoning her last bit of pride, she made her body explode, exposing her true form. That form was a demon stake which bounced off the walls surrounding the room. How could you shame me so much? Kill, kill, kill! You blockhead! Even though you can't even follow my movements anymore. I won't play around anymore, I'm seriously mad. I'll pierce your heart in one blow. I'll plow right through you, make a fountain of bright red blood reach the ceiling. Die. Kano-kun. After flying about wildly for some time, with a speed approaching the limits of what a human eye could follow, Lucifer flew at Kanon's heart. She could tell that it was Kanon's blood by the sweet taste of it. But she quickly noticed one thing. She hadn't pierced his heart.
This is why humans are frightening. Would you like some black tea?
I'm fine for now. This is so amusing, I don't even need any. Kano-kun. You are arrogant again. I told you that you wouldn't be able to defeat me. The floor was stained with dripping blood. It really was Kanon's blood. But it wasn't flowing out of his chest. Kanon had sacrificed his own left hand to protect his heart. Lucifer was arrogant, even though she'd been given enough time to realize that this was an opponent capable of cornering her. In her pride, she had believed him to be worthless. She had gotten careless. So, just as she had announced, she had aimed for his chest, trying to pierce his heart. Because she was arrogant, she hadn't even thought of aiming for somewhere other than the place she had announced. No, maybe she had thought about it a little. However, her pride would not allow her to aim for a different spot. After all, she was Lucifer of Pride. Kanon, withstanding the pain, grasped the demon stake, sticking deep into his left hand strongly with his right hand, and pulled it out. When she heard the sound of breaking bones and even more blood dripping down, Shannon looked away reflexively. There was an air hole in the back of the pierced hand so big you could clearly see through to the other side. Kanon's face was filled with pain, but right now, he had won without a doubt. The demon stake he was gripping with his right hand turned back into Lucifer again, so that Kanon was now gripping exactly where her neck was. It's my victory, Beatrice. Kanon didn't hold back at all with a hand gripping Lucifer's throat. She had challenged him again after their fight had already been decided. Kanon had no obligation to be considerate. But even so, Kanon released the witch's furniture. Was it his naive humanism, his pity for another furniture, or a final bit of respect to the witch? In any case, when she was released, Lucifer fell face down on the ground, retching and moaning over the pain in their throat.
Spectacular, Kanon. Your great efforts have proven the correctness of some of Kinzo's research.
Ronove was clapping his hands. To Kanon, who had won at great cost and had a wound in his left hand that wouldn't close, Ronove's applause only felt like mockery. All possibilities dwell within the human heart, was it? My, this is why humans are frightening. Well done, Kanon. You were victorious. Spectacular. Are you okay? Kano-kun.
Shannon ran up to him and wrapped a handkerchief around his left hand, which was still spraying blood. That was incredible, Kano. Truly incredible. Even I was hoping, at least a little, for an upset. That you didn't let me down makes you truly splendid furniture. I think better of you now. I honestly think better of you.
You haven't forgotten our promise, right, Beatrice?
Indeed. Of course I haven't forgotten. Witches and demons may be inhumane. However, we are much more noble than humans when it comes to keeping promises. I will not go back on my word. I guaranteed that if you won, I would give you the right to decide the 5 people who will escape becoming the 13 sacrifices.
Beatrice-sama, it's not like I've lost.
When Beatrice waved her pipe, heaven and earth turned over just for Lucifer. So, as a horribly natural result, she fell onto the ceiling. The ceiling doesn't seem that high to people standing on the floor. However, people who fall on it upside down and head first usually don't agree. Milady, isn't that a little much? Perhaps you are right. I suppose I'll forgive her. Beatrice waved her pipe again. When she did, the magic that had been affecting Lucifer was released. So, as a horribly natural result, this time she fell properly back onto the floor.
Beatrice-sama, forgive me.
What are you so afraid of? I've already forgiven you, haven't I? So, Kano, shall we continue?
Continue what? You aren't saying you want me to finish her, are you?
Ah, no. It isn't over yet, right?
What isn't? Stop dodging the question.
I did promise to give you your reward, didn't I? To you your reward? If you could defeat my furniture, the 7 stakes of purgatory, right? Come, arise, the 7 stakes of purgatory, the 6 younger sisters of the worthless elder sister. The air split with shrill laughter, and as a golden splash scattered about, the remaining 6 sisters of purgatory showed themselves. All the 7 sisters of purgatory were here, after Kanon was able to defeat only by sacrificing his left arm. By now, Kanon regretted his thoughtlessness in accepting the witch's challenge. He had been foolish to assume that a game against the witch would be on an even footing.
Lame. One-sama, why are you crawling on the floor? You people...
I told you, One-sama's useless. Even though she acts like she's so great just because she's the oldest, that's only on the outside.
Yeah, seriously. Lucifer One-sama, your disgraceful behavior will damage the reputation of us all. Know your shame. You novice. Kanon-kun, that was totally awesome. But don't get cocky, okay? Lucifer One-sama brags all the time, but she's no big deal to compare to the rest of us sisters. That's why I'm always saying Lucifer One-sama should do anything. Just let her keep bragging all the time. After all, those of us with talent can handle all the tough jobs. What are you gonna do, One-sama? Out of respect for your pride, we were planning to stay out of your way in the hopes that you'd challenge him again in that beat-up body of yours. But Kanon-kun sure is strong, right? Right now, no matter how much you struggle, there's no way you could win, right? You people...
My, you sisters are always so lively. Is this any time to fight amongst yourselves? It's only together that you're the 7 stakes of purgatory, correct? Now, play nice and execute the tasks I give you. And swiftly, okay?
Hey, Lucifer One-sama, if you want to borrow the power of your little sisters, then say it, okay? We want to hear you ask us for help with your own mouth. Do you plan to mock me even more? I, the foolish, weak, ugly, and shameful, Lucifer, the eldest sister, begged my younger sister to save me. Come on, let's hear it. If you let us hear that, we'll save you. Okay, everyone? You... bitch!
The 7 sisters of purgatory unanimously closed in on their worthless sister, abusing her. Even Kanon, who had been fighting for his life until a second ago, couldn't bear to look at it.
As if I could say something like that.
Quickly now. Clearly, we won't make any progress here with you alone. Hurry up. Let the 7 sisters strike Kanon. My, what is the matter, Lucifer? This is an order from a lady, is it not?
How cruel.
After grinding her teeth over and over after hearing her sister's curses, Lucifer trembled all over and answered her sister's request.
I, the foolish, weak, ugly,
and shameful.
Lucifer, the eldest sister, beg,
The girl known as Pride was finally unable to endure the words she was saying, and broke down crying. However, the 6 younger sisters kept giggling wholeheartedly.
Wait a sec. Don't try to trick us by crying. You haven't finished saying it.
That should be enough. Come, sisters, let us display our power. I won't be satisfied till I hear the whole thing, okay? Come on, One-sama, keep going.
That's enough. Come on, this shame affects us all. We won't let them leave here alive.
Okay, so how should we play with this pitiful furniture? Any wonderful plans?
Yes. Belza thinks the 7 of us should get along and split Kanon up between us.
Good idea. That way all of the sisters can get along.
Then I'll take the head. I'll leave the limbs and guts to you all. No. I get the head. There's no way that promise will mean anything, right? First one there wins. Kanon-kun, if you've got any ideas for how we should kill you, just tell us, okay? The 7 sisters will kill you in an awesome way. Damn. Ugh. You shamed me so deeply. Slicing you into 8 pieces won't be enough. I'll slice you into 100 pieces. Here we go, everyone. Yes, One-sama.
The 7 of them burst at once. They had no intention of playing or boasting. This time, they would genuinely follow their master's order. Take Kanon down, swiftly. The 7 sisters jumped around the room faster than the eye could see, examining how they could best kill Kanon. They tortured Kanon with their cruel giggles, sometimes making a close pass at him. They kept scraping his arms, shoulders, and cheeks, gradually carving red letters into his body. At that moment, Shannon dashed up behind him, holding on to him so that she blocked the way to his body at least a little.
At the same time, a red cylinder wrapped around the two of them, like a beam of light sent from heaven. That cylinder repelled the evil ones who tormented Kanon.
What? You're mean. This has nothing to do with you. Oh, I see. You must want to play with us. Then I'll take it. All mine. Beatrice-sama, can we take Shannon as our prey?
I don't mind. Do as you like. It seems Kanon alone would be enough to satisfy our gluttony.
You have our deepest gratitude. Come on, I'll make you regret coming out uninvited. I'll turn you into scraps of meat so unrecognizable you won't be able to tell which is which. Mix you and mince you into hamburgers.
Idiot. Breaking that barrier should come first, right? Don't let your gluttony get in the way of your job.
Yes, Sone-sama.
As a horribly natural first reaction, the seven sisters began to destroy the barrier Shannon had created. Shannon's barrier certainly was strong. It was powerful enough to impress even Beatrice. With its strength, frail furniture would turn to dust just by touching it, and it was firm like a tree with deep roots. But no matter how big a tree gets, it will eventually surrender to a saw or a hatchet. For the seven sisters, chopping down Shannon's barrier would be annoying, but not impossible. A sound like beetles jumping about grew even fiercer and filled the room. The red barrier began to be cut up and eroded away as though with a hatchet, a saw, no, a chainsaw by now. How foolish. Even though you must know that your barrier can't fully protect you from these girls. Why?
Because I couldn't overlook it.
As Shannon covered Kanon, who was already at his limits, sprawled on the floor, she spoke back resolutely. If you hadn't barged in uninvited, I would have given you a death-like sleep. Why have you gone to all the trouble of exposing yourself before the seven sisters? Not all deaths are the same. A cruel death will cause you far more anguish than merely dying.
Go ahead. Do as you like. Just as you always do what you want. I did what I wanted.
At any rate, you're not quite amusing at the present moment. Romance is most interesting when you're wondering whether it will succeed or not. Once it does succeed, a woman is like salmon who has finished laying its eggs. I am already tired of you.
Thank you. No words from a witch would make me happier.
Then at least in the end, let me see you die in a truly entertaining manner. Seven sisters, can you hear me? Kill Shannon in a way that shows me the limits of brutality. Shannon.
My apologies. In the end, I wasn't able to reach your level, Genji-sama.
You're an idiot, Nesan. If you just let me be, then you might not have had to meet a horrible end.
No, it's fine. I received a ring from George-sama and lived as a woman. I have protected you and lived as a sister. With this, my life is complete, with no regrets.
Yeah, you're pissing me off. That philosophical take is really irritating. Like I said, you're furniture. You don't even smell like a human. Look at me. I am a human. Don't spout off philosophical crap like you're more complete than I am, you furniture.
How ugly. Are those regrets what you truly are?
They aren't regrets. This is called living. What's this about not minding if you die just because you were given a ring? I can't understand it. It's incomprehensible, disappointing, outrageous, stunning, and it's all useless. Milady, perhaps you're acting a tad undignified. Shut up, furniture! Shannon, do you think I'll let you die so easily? Now's the time to bite your tongue. How pitiful. If you can see yourself reflected in my eyes, then shudder at your own ugliness. Fear not. Once I've crushed you up, you'll be much more ugly even while you still live. At that time, Genji softly entered the red barrier. Perhaps that barrier didn't block those without ill intent. Then, Genji gently held her from behind and covered her eyes with his right hand. Genji-sama.
You've already done enough. Go to sleep before me.
Yes, thank you very much, Genji-sama.
Indeed.
After that, Genji softly pressed his left hand near her collarbone. As he did, emanating from that area, a crimson stain gently spread out. When Genji removed his hand, bright red, fresh blood oozed out of there. It only happened for the first instant, and it was shaped like a crimson rose. And when he removed his right hand, covering her face, there was a peaceful expression there, as though she was sleeping. Then she fell softly, silently, and slept. Her soul had already been sent to a world where the malicious witch and her furniture could not reach her, no matter how evilly they tortured her. This scene left Beatrice and the seven sisters stunned. Only Ronove wore a mysterious smile. Then, Genji leaned over Kanon, who was crouching on the floor.
You did well. You should sleep now too.
Yes, thank you very much, Genji-sama. Just as he had done with Shannon, he softly covered Kanon's eyes with his hand, then gently pressed the area around Kanon's collarbone with his other hand. And when his hand was removed with the lightness of a feather, there was a crimson rose there. But that rose shape quickly turned into the stain of bright red blood pouring out. What is that? What a boring person. Even though it's so fun to poke the balloon of life with a needle so that it forcefully explodes.
Spectacular, Genji. You truly are furniture. Thank you very much. Well then, Beatrice-sama, Ronove-sama. With this as my final task, allow me to rest.
Damn you, snatching away my fun. Why did I take all the thrashing and mashing I wanted to do to them and give it to you instead? Beatrice faced him with an unsatisfied expression, but Ronove spoke quietly to Genji with a soothing smile.
You have worked hard. You are my greatest servant. As a final gift, I shall bestow upon you a peaceful sleep fitting for all the labors you have performed.
What? Wait, it's not your place to... When Ronove snapped his fingers, Genji slumped to the floor like a puppet with its strings cut. Suddenly, and yet gently, he crumpled, falling into a sleep that no witch could call him back from. It was as filled with kindness as the sleep he had given Shannon and Kanon. What was that, Ronove? What a boring anticlimax.
Are you not a mighty great witch, milady? What happened here is hardly worthy of your concern. It isn't like you to let the provocation of someone like Shannon get to you.
What was it that had Beatrice so irritated? Was she still unable to remove the thorn of Shannon's words? Ronove laughed lightly, as though lamenting the complexity of humanity and a woman's heart, and ordered the seven sisters to go. After all, there were still 2 sacrifices left for the first twilight. The 7 sisters disappeared in ecstasy. And that sound of glass smashing is my signal to call it a day. Or a night, even. Dang, it got really late. Oh boy. Yeah, I think this is a good stopping point, and we're, just gonna continue as always next week. Yeah. Oh boy. I'm hyped. Cause yeah, no, the next one is oh boy, it's gonna be a good one. They're all good, but next week is special. You'll see. But wow, what an episode, right? We learned so much, and I'm certain, because I've been through this before, that it won't clear up anything at all. But they're all, oh boy, yeah. Honestly, the whole series is. It's just the whole series. It's great. I love it. I gotta go, because you might have noticed that I was stumbling over my words a little towards the end, and oh boy. I went on a little longer than I should have, probably, so sorry about all the stumbling. I hope it didn't take too much of the tension out, but was getting a little sleepy, yeah. Tired, it's hard work. I did, yeah. I got my water bottle. I'm gonna drink half of that in a bit, but no, we're good on the water front. I'm just tired, but that just means it's time for me to go and gather up all my energy for next week, because again, oh boy. Yeah, I know I can stop if I'm tired. It's just I wanted to get to this point, and we did, so it was worth it. Hell yeah. Oh boy. Alright, that's gonna be it for me today. I will be back some other time. I don't know exactly when. I'm sort of planning on doing a little extra stream here, but I don't know when yet. We'll see. Otherwise, back on Monday, and otherwise, back on Wednesday, same time as always. These YouTube videos are going to be uploaded on Wednesday from now on. So you can watch them like just before the live episode. To give me a little bit of time to edit and stuff. So yeah. Have a wonderful day, or evening, or night, whichever applies. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it very, very much. And good night. Goodbye.